Welcome to Gender Diversity, What are Neopronouns? Brought to you by the Rainbow Diversity Institute, a Black-owned company that creates education like this, among lots of other things, to help go beyond superficial diversity. You can learn more about us at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca. So what is this word neopronoun and what are they? New pronouns means more recently recognized or more recently created pronouns. And pronouns, as we might know, are little words that we use to help clarify who we're talking about, communicate gender, and help language flow. Neopronouns go beyond the more common pronouns of he, she, and they. Neopronouns, in fact, might strive not to communicate gender at all. So pronouns often have been very gender-based, especially around he or she, in mainstream typical day-to-day language, but that's growing and changing. Some folks don't necessarily want to announce a gender every time they're being referred to. So it would make sense to create pronouns that are not gender-based in order to communicate a different aspect of identity, or at least to communicate not basing all of identity in our pronouns around gender. So that could open the door to an unlimited number of pronouns. Yeah, it could. In fact, how many pronouns do we need? Maybe it feels upsetting to have to memorize or learn about so many. Well, that's actually not a decision to make or enforce on anyone else how many pronouns are allowed. Pronouns are, just like our names and lots of other things about us, a form of expression and identity. We can memorize lots and lots of different names, even if we're not so good at remembering names all the time. And we don't say how many first names are allowed, or how many last names are allowed, or how many colors are we allowed to make clothing in. All of these things can have to do with identity and expression. And for some people, they're more close to the heart than others. So we don't get to make this decision for others just because the pronoun that we use for ourselves is more commonly found in conversation. We don't get to have ours and forbid other people to have theirs. So how many pronouns do we need? As many as it takes to be respectful of other people. Why has it gotten so complicated? Maybe it feels like this is all new and different. Well, it's always been a bit complicated, but maybe not for you. And this is a thing I like to remind people of a lot. If you have fit into the mainstream around communicating gender and around pronoun use, then this probably hasn't been something you thought about a lot. If you always felt like it was a little bit or a lot bit off when people used pronouns like he or she for you, then you've probably thought about this in some ways, even if you didn't know exactly how to put your finger on what was wrong. It's been complicated for many people for a long time because gender and identity are complex things. It makes sense that this whole big world of so many different people can't be summed up by just two different terms about pronouns, he and she. So it's not that it's recently gotten so complicated, it's that you've recently become aware of it. But that's okay. You can catch up and do better. Oh, but these pronouns are made up and trendy, aren't they? Well, you know, tell me a word that wasn't made up. Oh, wait, actually, I won't, because you won't be able to come up with one. All language is human created and made up. Communication is all about creating words and phrases and sentences to help describe and convey ideas to each other. Language trends are constant. The word cool hasn't always been around to mean that's great. All sorts of different language trends happen, but this language trend is about respect, which means it's not just a trend. It means that it's an evolution in language. That's really important. This isn't a phase or a trend. It's an evolution in how we talk to each other and how we show respect. So yeah, these pronouns are made up, just like he, she, and they were, just a little bit more recently. And they feel like a trend because they're more newly recognized, but that's part of language evolving. If this is more upsetting to you than other words that evolve, like words for technology that accurately name the piece of tech that you're using, like the phrase smartphone, which is already a bit old, that didn't exist a few decades ago. But if that's not upsetting for you, and this is, probably it's not about the new words, and it's more about your feelings about things that it might be time to do some exploration and learning about. Okay, enough exploration and learning. I just want to be respectful. So how do I use these pronouns and how do I know what they are? Well, I'm not even going to give you a list of neopronouns because they really truly are infinite. So, what we need to do is ask. People can let us know what pronouns to use. It can feel awkward to ask, but practice makes a really big difference, both in the asking and in the using. We learn people's names, we rememorize their names, especially their last names when they change. We learn all sorts of things, like how to recognize people when they change their glasses or change their hair. We can practice these things and become really good at them. So we can ask folks, hey, what pronoun should I use? And they can let us know. And if they're not sure, we can say he, she, they, something else, and they can let us know. It's not just for the person you're asking, it's also for everyone else who's listening, who's learning that you're someone who is safer and more trustworthy because you care about these things. And then appreciate folks. Thanks for letting me know your pronoun. Thanks for reminding me. Thanks for updating me about that other person's pronouns. I'm going to practice them now. And that's how we can go ahead and learn how to use them. There's also different websites that you can Google that can help you understand how to conjugate a sentence with these different pronouns. In other words, he or him, what do we do when it's a neopronoun between those two or three different versions? Singulars, the plurals, the past, present tense, the future tense, all those things. A simple Google search can help you find websites that will help guide you through that. And it's good for us to learn to do this research for ourselves anyway. All right. This has been Gender Diversity. What are neopronouns? Thanks for listening. This is the Rainbow Diversity Institute, and I hope you'll take the time to learn more about us at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca.